Welcome, everybody. You just joined us for the CitrusWatch webinar for the Autumn EDN wrap-up. I'm joined here by Gary Eyles today to give us a talk about the sourcing healthy citrus varieties. Guest speaker as well. For those of you that are joining us from outside of the CitrusWatch Early Detector Network, CitrusWatch is a collaborative national citrus biosecurity program made up of several organisations within the industry, being Hort Innovation, Plant Health Australia, Citrus Australia, the Northern Territory Government, and CSER Australia. Didn't introduce myself at the start. My name's Jackie Mitchell, for those of you that don't know me. I'm the Urban Biosecurity Coordinator for the CitrusWatch Southern region, and I work for Citrus Australia, based here in Victoria, Mildura, Victoria. So, as I mentioned before, I'm the coordinator for the Southern region. We are made up of a southern and a northern region, as you can sort of see on that little map there. I have a colleague who works for the Northern Territory Government who looks after the north, pretty much everything north of the Tropical Capricorn and all of Northern Territory for him, and everything south for me. So I look after all the way across from WA, South Australia, right through to Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria. And Tasmania, but we don't have a lot of citrus in Tasmania. We do sometimes forget about them. So part of CitrusWatch is all about surveilling or monitoring for exotic pests and diseases, 6 of which are our high priority exotic pests and diseases, some of which you may have seen or heard about in the news. That is the Asian citrus psyllid, the African citrus psyllid, the glassy winged sharpshooter, and some of the diseases that they are vectors for, which is those ones down the bottom, Huanglongbing disease, which can be carried by the Asian citrus psyllid and the African citrus psyllid, Xylella, which is vectored by the glassy winged sharpshooter, and citrus canker, which is a bacterial disease that can come in, well, all of these can come in on infected fruit, plant material, as well as the insects that can carry them. So part of our early detector network, those of you that haven't been part of our sticky trapping already, we send out sticky traps with lures out to people that have citrus plants or related plants such as like moraias and things like that, related hosts. To put out in their gardens to see what we can find. So far, I'm very glad to say that we haven't found any suspicious psyllids or glassy winged sharpshooters so far. Congratulations, everyone. We haven't found any pests in Australia. So we do that twice a year, once in autumn and once in spring. So we're just wrapping up our autumn surveillance now. And then we'll be sending out new kits in September for the October campaign. So this season, we've sent out 265 traps in the southern region. We aim to send out around 500 across the entire nation, and that includes industry as well. We do put traps out in orchards and in nurseries such as Gary's. And you can see there our distribution through the different states. We've been slowly working to build up our numbers in some of the states with the lower numbers. Very happy to see that we've sort of reached our target for WA, and this season I've been working on South Australia. But we've been doing very well in Queensland, as you can see. So what else have we been up to? I've been doing a bit of travel. As you can see there, we've got some pictures from a few of the garden festivals that I've been to so far this year. That includes the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, the Perth Garden Show, the South Australian Autumn Garden Festival over in Clare, I've done a couple of spots at Bunnings as well while I'm there. If you're coming to any of these shows coming up later in the year, so the Queensland Garden Show, Werribee Heritage Fruit Tree Festival, or the National Insect Expo in Woodend, Victoria, stop by and say hello. And if any of you have come across CitrusWatch via these events and had a chat with me, welcome. So a little bit of information on some of our other activities online. If you're wanting more information, feel free to check us out on our website, the CitrusWatch website, on the Citrus Australia website. We've got a bit of information on our Instagram, and we also have recorded previous webinars on our YouTube. So this one will also be available on YouTube shortly after we conclude. All right, so I'll hand over to Gary now, and let's all give him a great welcome. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Jackie, and good morning or good afternoon to you and all the attendees. Great program. I think it's a great program, the CitrusWatch program. So biosecurity is a hobby horse of mine. So great to see it happening. I thought that I would just try and talk about what we do as a nursery industry to start with on looking after the health of our citrus plants through the nation. And I think the start of that is the Auscitrus organisation, which I happen to be in the chair of at the moment. So I'll start there, and if anyone's got any questions, just yell out along the way. Jackie, you might want to just say, hang on if you see someone's hand up, and stop me and I'll answer their question. So I'm quite happy to be interrupted and take any questions along the way that hopefully I can answer. So going back to the Auscitrus organisation, it's an organisation that started back in 1928 with the idea of keeping a good health status in our citrus plants across the country, and also propagating from material that we knew was true to type. And to this day, they are the two things that is the focus of Auscitrus. So high health quality and trueness to type. Now, the Auscitrus supplies the industry, so us people that run citrus nurseries, that supplies us with our rootstock seed and our budwood from all the different scion varieties. And they run a testing program on the seed source trees and on the trees that they cut buds with. The testing program's a lot more diligent on the budwood trees because that's more important, and it's the place where diseases can harbour. And if it's not clean, you can imagine if one tree is not clean and it's propagated from, and we make 1,000 trees off that one, then how quickly disease can spread. So those trees we cut from are tested on a very regular basis, so that nurseries like us can be confident that the plants we're growing are coming from a clean source and from trueness to type. The organisation's made up of members that can be growers, fruit growers, they can be nurseries, and they can be variety commercialisers, which is part of the industry nowadays. And the board is a mix of those people, made up of 5 or 6 members coming from each of those areas. So we get a good input from the industry by having those representation from different areas. So Auscitrus operates under world's best practice. It compares itself regularly to similar organisations in other citrus growing countries like the US and South Africa, Spain. So they all have those sorts of organisations, and Auscitrus compares very well with those organisations. And another thing that Auscitrus is done well is it's got itself in a position where it's ready for an incursion. So in the horrible event that we do have an incursion, Auscitrus has the facilities now that we can grow our buds inside a insect-proof facility, so that we can ensure that there's no infection from outside. Currently, we don't. We've got the facility, we do use it, but it's not critical. But if there is an incursion, then it becomes critical, and we're already it's an organisation that's ahead of the game. So it's a really good base for us to grow our propagate and grow our citrus trees that end up in home gardens. They end up in big orchards. They end up all over the country. So it's a very important part of the process. Any queries on that organisation before I move on? No, we're all
No
good.
questions in the chat so far.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd talk about the importing process that happens nowadays. So generally, varieties are imported by variety commercialisers. So it's so expensive to do, and it's such a process that it's become a specialised area. And we have a number of variety commercialisers in the country that actively have agreements with breeders in other countries and other organisations that have varieties in other countries, and then they select what they think will work in Australia, and they bring them into the country. Now, it sounds easy, but it's not. It's quite a process. So our quarantine, to bring the plants through quarantines, a minimum of 2 years. And if there's issues along the way, it can be up to 4 years. So it's a long process and it's expensive. If you can get some things through in 2 years, which all comes down to whether there's an infection or not, then it's about $30,000 as a rough estimate to bring a variety in. So it's inexpensive, and it's a time-consuming process, because once it leaves quarantine, then in the main it will go to Auscitrus, who will multiply up some plants to cut buds off. So that's another couple of years and then there's evaluations, and then there's release to nurseries. So by the time the nursery actually releases a plant, from the time of importation can be quite easily 8 years. So it's a long process, but it's a valuable process. So I don't want to be complaining about the process, because it's very, very important. And it's very important that we do keep that there, in the era of government cutbacks, that we still maintain that, because it protects the industry. There's so many exotics that could ruin our industry, not only our industry, and our home garden plants as well. They would go if some of these incursions happen. So it's a long process, but it's a very valuable process, and it protects us. Now, the diseases, I think Jackie has already had up some of the diseases that we spoke about, that are lingering just outside of the country. And the African citrus cell, the Asian one is the one that's pressurising us. It's not far away. It's in Indonesia. It's in Papua New Guinea, and along with Hong Kong. They're the real danger ones. They're sitting out there, and it can be an issue where the psyllids come on a cyclone. So I'm pleased to see that Northern Australia is being surveillance is going on up there as well. But I feel as though the biggest danger we have is illegal imports. Somebody unknowingly or knowingly bringing in plant material that's infected. So that's where I think is our biggest danger, and which has been covered by CitrusWatch. So it's it's very easily imported if people bring in material, particularly out of the countries where those diseases are prevalent. And there's plenty of those right through Asia, right through the Americas, Africa. So it's there's a lot out there. We're fortunate to be in the position we're in, where we don't have Honglong being in the country, we don't have CVC, we don't have the psyllids. We have had incursions of canker over the years, and because we've had such a diligent industry and officers out there, that the industry and the departments of primary industries in those areas have managed to, which is fantastic. A lot of work, but it's been, it's protected our industry by doing that. So yeah, we've done well, but we need to be vigilant. Some of the examples of what's happened when there's been incursions of the psyllid, Honglong canker, it's decimated the industries. One of the big lessons when we're talking about surveillance, one of the big lessons is what happened in Florida. In Florida, the Asian citrus psyllid was it started off down around in the Miami area, and the powers that be in Florida said, "Oh, we haven't got Honglong Bing. The psyllid doesn't cause any damage on its own. It's just the carrier. We won't worry about it." So they just let it go. And if anyone's been to Florida, they'll realise there's a lot of Murraya paniculata through the state, much like here, and the psyllid just loves Murraya paniculata. So psyllid got well and truly established. It wasn't causing much issue until there was an illegal import of, I think it was a pomelo, into Miami. And once that plant got established and the psyllids landed on the leaves of that plant, then it just took off because there was so much of the vector. So and it just went through Florida. Now, Florida's citrus industry was one of the largest juice suppliers in the world. And the recent information I've had is that it's reduced by about 70%. So it's just decimated their industry. Similar thing in Brazil. Brazil was the biggest juice supplier in the world, and it's had all sorts of issues with Honglong Bing, with spread by the psyllid. Plus, and both these countries have canker as well. So it's a mix of disease, for plant disease. So it just highlights the need for surveillance and to be in front of the game. Now, the best thing's to keep it out, but if it does get here, the only chance we have of eradication is if we find it early. If we find it too late, then it'll be out of control and we won't be able to eradicate. So the early detection network is ultra important to all of us that have some interest in the citrus world, and that includes home gardens who tend to love their tree, whatever it is in their backyard, and enjoy the fruit from it. So we're all in it together, and we need to make sure we can keep enjoying our citrus plants, whether it's commercially for profit or whether it's for fruit in your home garden. So it's of course it's a passion of mine because it's my livelihood, but it's also there's plenty of other people with a passion for it. So our best defence is at the borders, biosecurity at the borders. I view that our capital cities are probably the most dangerous place because of the traffic in and out, but it very easily can move from a capital city to a region. So, one follows the other. On our borders, and then do what you guys are doing, surveilling around the country to make sure it's not setting up somewhere and then spreading. Any questions?
Nothing in the chat yet.
Nothing in the chat
today.
Yeah, so I'm just reiterate that our illegal imports is the area that really concerns me more than anything. Natural events, like I said before, can bring it in on a cyclone in the north, but the biggest danger is humans with it in their bag or wherever, and people are often unaware of the risks, but we need to keep reminding them. The material that CitrusWatch puts out looks fantastic. I'm pleased to see you've been at the garden shows, Jackie. That's talking to people that helps spread the word. So great job. Auscitrus is involved in a program as well that looking at varieties, not commercial varieties so much, but varieties that different cultures may look to import. Someone from anywhere might have a variety at home at their home country that we don't have here, or they perceive we don't have it here, and that's a danger that they might think, oh, well, I'll just bring it in, and I'll bring in a cutting and I'll cut some buds and away we go. That's what we've got to try and guard against. So Auscitrus has had some funding to bring in 1 or 2 varieties a year through the quarantine program that would help have that variety here, so that it lessens the chance of illegal imports. And we've put together a list, and I haven't counted it up, but there's a couple of pages here of a list of different things. And when we went through it, there's quite a few of them that are here. They haven't been in our Auscitrus program. They're out there in a collection or whatever. So we're endeavouring to test some of that material and then bring it into the Auscitrus program, so there's a clean source, and also look at something that may be a small demand here in the home garden network that we can find a source, bring it in, have it as a clean source and available for those people that it's culturally significant to them. So there is some work on that angle, trying to cover that off. So if anyone hears of a variety, then it could just let Auscitrus know and email through to contact at Auscitrus to say, I believe there's a little bit of demand for this variety, and then Auscitrus can follow it up. But it's not a. I'll just slip back to Auscitrus for a minute. Auscitrus is a self-funding organisation, so it funds itself by the sale of the seed and budwood. So it doesn't have the money to bring in lots of things, but we've received some funding to bring in a couple of years. So at least we're nibbling away at it and trying to cover off in that area. Yes, is that a question?
I've just posted the link to the Auscitrus website, if anyone's looking to have a closer look at them. We've got a couple of comments here. Stephen's mentioned a Persian lime, and John's looking at a bitter orange that James Squire grew. Are either of those varieties familiar to you, Gary? Persian lime is something that I've heard of before.
The Persian lime. Now there's a common
name, isn't it?
Yes, it's a common name. Now, Persian lime in the Americas is what we call Tahiti lime. or bear's lime. So there's a number of names around for the same variety. And yeah, it gets difficult because there's in regions people call things different names. But yeah, to me, Persian lime says, oh, I would just say, yes, it's already here. Tahiti lime, that's what they call Persian lime. But that may not be right because it might be in a region that calls something else Persian lime. There is a sweet lime, sometimes called sweet lemon, that came from that Persian area that's here already. And that could be what people are talking about as well. If it's an acidless fruit that they're after, then it would be that what we call sweet lime or sweet lemon. But yeah, so it's a difficult area because of the different names, and we're not got a you know a proper Latin name that we can work to. So yeah, that's part of the issue. Um, bitter orange. There is some bitter oranges here. There's a rough skin Seville and a smooth skin Seville that are both here and available. So with the bitter oranges, I think they're covered. There'd only be seedling variations that we don't have. But if someone's after a bitter orange, there are 2 Seville oranges readily available here.
That's where if people are looking for a particular variety, what's the best way for them to find out if it's available in Australia?
I would contact Auscitrus. Yeah, because if you go to an individual nursery, they may have it, they may not. But Auscitrus could say, yes, that's in our program, or it's here, but it's not in our program. And just that contact will highlight it for our list of what to look for. So yeah, I would go back to that contact at Auscitrus.
So I believe there's a couple of the ones that popped up in that list was things like the yuzu and even kaffir limes. But even kaffir limes now, the names sort of changed a little bit in sort of the common name area. I've seen it pop up as a makrut lime as well.
Yeah, well, that's Thai call it makrut lime. Yeah, Citrus hystrix is what we're talking about. But within hystrix, there's a number of selections as well. And I think that grew out of seedling variation and selection. So we've got a couple that came into the country that have been in the Auscitrus program. I think the selections that they've got have been the pick of them, but there were a number of selections floating around of kaffir lime, Citrus hystrix. The other one that comes up is calamansi. Now, it depends who you talk to, and I've done a bit of research, and I do have some Filipino people in my family that I've quizzed about calamansi, wanting to know, because some people say, well, our calamondin that we've got is different, and I think that's more an environmental thing. My Filipino contacts use the calamondin here as calamansi and feel it's the same as what they've always used. So, and there's a book on citrus varieties by Saunt, and he he researched varieties around the world, and he classes calamondin and calamansi the same thing. So, but there's I've had plenty of discussions with different people about that, and people have differing opinions. My opinion is that the calamansi, calamondin is the same thing, but there may be slight variations in different environments, because growing it in Thailand or the Philippines is going to be different to growing it in temperate Australia.
And would you see a lot of seed grown variation with those? Are they a type of citrus that's often grown from seed in backyards? or more
No,
commonly
it's
grafted?
not anymore. It's not anymore. But I think in history, going back I think that's where some variation would have come. But nowadays it's pretty well all propagated um, vegetatively by buds. So yes, I don't see it growing. And the advantage the way we propagate plants now is that we're using off sources we know. Um, and if you anything from seed in citrus is generally going to be thornier and it's going to take years to fruit. So yeah, so it's not what you want to do for home garden or any citrus.
You tend to get a bit of a mixed bag, don't you? You don't know if
You
it's
do,
going to fruit.
yeah. And so some things are reasonably true from seed, and other things are not. So it varies greatly in the citrus world. Yeah. So yes, but that little program is something Citrus is doing with some industry funds in order to try and push, give a broader range of availability here for people, from different cultures that want something from home.
So for those watching at home, if you're interested in nominating particular varieties that you haven't been able to find here, you can go to the Auscitrus website and send them an email and see if they've already got it, or if they can get it in for you.
Yeah, that's right. If we see a number of inquiries coming through about a certain variety as an Oz, when I say we, I mean Oz citrus, then that'll highlight it to us, and we can try and find a source and put it in the program. So yeah, that's the idea of the whole thing. So yeah, yeah.
Now we do have a few people in our group from WA, and with trying to get varieties of citrus into WA can come with its own sort of level of paperwork. Can you give us any insight into sort of the processes there? As a as a
Yeah,
as a grower, in what sort of hoops you have to jump through?
sure. So WA, there's a number of states that have regulations. Some states, South Australia, Queensland, Victoria, we're in New South Wales. We can self-certify because we go through a program with the Department of Primary Industries and follow some protocols. We can self-certify. For Tasmania and Western Australia, we are required to have an inspection. We're required to treat with 5 different chemicals. And then Tassie's a bit different, but you asked about Western Australia in particular. Western Australia through and be re-inspected when it arrives, and before release to the end customer out there. So we have to pay for an inspection this end. We have to treat this end with, as I said, with 5 different chemicals, and then another inspection, another fee, the other end for Western Australia. So just as an aside, we supply plants for online sales to retail, and that business doesn't send them to Western Australia. We can do our end easy enough, but it's so difficult and expensive the other end. Then at the retail level, it's too hard. It's just too hard. And I'm a great believer in quarantine. I'm not sure why those regulations are so stringent. When the work's done this end, if they should be able to trust the inspectors that come from the New South Wales Department as independent inspectors, and instead of having to do another inspection the other end, I don't see the value in that. Great supporter of quarantine, even between states, that's fine, but that seems an extra step that's really an overkill. It's similar into Tasmania. They don't re-inspect, but they insist on knowing what's coming in. So we have to inform them of what's coming through. And if it's not informed, they'll stop it. So that's the regulations within Australia. So and as I said earlier, from outside the country coming in, all has to go through quarantine under the program that I outlined earlier.
Certainly gives you an appreciation of the amount of work that gets done behind the scenes, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, when a new variety, and we've released a few over the years in conjunction with the variety commercializers. And yeah, there's a lot of work on the ground before it gets out to either the commercial guys or the public. So yes, yep. Okay. Questions? Okay.
We'll open that one up to the floor. If anyone had any questions for Gary or for me.
Yep.
No,
Everyone's quiet.
no one has any questions.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate that how important I think CitrusWatch is to our biosecurity. And I think the lessons that we've seen in the US, where Florida didn't try to control the psyllid and how that's decimated their industry, and then compare that to California, who are being threatened by the Asian citrus psyllid and Honglong Bing. They've been threatened. It's endemic in Mexico, so it's come up the highway. And California have spent a lot of money on surveillance, early warning programs like CitrusWatch to try and slow the process. So far I'm not going to say they've succeeded, but they have succeeded in a way, because if they hadn't have done it, then done the surveillance, then it'd be just going wild. And they've just made little quarantine zones around where they've found it. And they've really slowed it down, but it's a lot of work, and it's that early detection that is so important. So the lessons that we've seen, and by various study tours, there's been one recently. I've been on one a number of years ago, and it's just the best thing to do in the early stages is to find where it is and try and eradicate as soon as you can, because once you leave it there for too long, it'll be gone, and we've seen that happen in many places.
Okay. Well,
so those of you that are volunteering out there to have a yellow sticky trap in your backyard or in your nursery or wherever, you're doing a good job.
Thank you, Gary. All right. Well, I might wrap things up there. I'm just going to reshare I'll share my screen again. Oh, yeah. Yep. There we go. Oh, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And thank you so much, Gary. That was a very insightful talk. For those of you playing at home and our EDN volunteers, our next trapping season will start in October. So you'll hear from me around August, September regarding your traps and sending them out. Please, if you have previously participated in the EDN, Please hold on to your plastic cage. That way I don't have to send you another one. That saves us on waste and also on postage, which means that we have more money to spend on more surveillance.